I wanted to make a ticket machine that would dispense clues in the form of a ticket for our annual Easter egg hunt. It needed to be operated by coins that I made out of 2-inch washers. It proved to be a popular contraption when people saw it working. There were a lot of technical hurdles to get over in the making of this machine. Here's how I went about it. First, I drew up the gear train in Photoshop. This helped me decide on the gear sizes that I was going to need. The gears were then drawn up online and printed. I cut them 2 or 3 at a time on the bandsaw, and after a bit of fine-tuning got them to mesh nicely. The gears were held on the shafts by short lengths of bamboo skewers inserted into a drilled keyway. Next, I printed out the Photoshop drawing and used it to mark the centres for the shafts of the gear train. Then I had to make a jig to make sure I drilled the rollers exactly central. You can see how I did it here. This worked out quite well. I used a small 12-volt motor which was geared down to about 30 RPM and mounted it, as you can see here, above the other gears in the train. It has one of the small gears attached to it. I needed to make the roller surfaces soft so they would grab the tickets as they passed, so my first attempt was to use some rubber matting that I had. I turned the squares down to round on the wood lathe. It worked okay, but for the top roller I had a better idea and just used the sponge part of a small paint roller. This worked out just as well. I used some of the rubber matting to form the cam on the pickup roller, but the rubber bands I used to hold it in place worked better still. Much later I eventually replaced this with a section of paint roller too. It worked better in the end. I cut a few test tickets and tried them out. So far so good. Next came the electrics. The pickup roller needed to turn once exactly to deliver a ticket, so I devised this cam so that the micro switch would turn off after each rotation. It was initiated by another micro switch that would eventually be triggered by the coin path. I also added a gate so that only one ticket could pass through at a time, and a small weight to keep the last ticket on the stack engaged. Then I designed and printed a stack of coins and tickets, which I had the clues I needed printed on. The coin track was pretty straightforward, although I did need the longer ramp to trigger the micro switch long enough to make sure the one on the drive cam engaged. Next came the housing and the final testing. I installed a secret switch in the base so I could trigger the machine without a coin when it was in the testing process. The machine was certainly a hit when it was used in the egg hunt. Everyone who used it certainly enjoyed the experience.
Can you do that again? Oh, you'll get this.